members as bait for the boss, the traitors exited the dungeon. The leader planned to let the spider eat Jin-Woo and Jin-Ho. Then, while the spider was asleep, they would haul the mana stones out without using magic to reopen the path they had blocked, as that would wake the spider. He had observed a shortcut to sneak in from the ceiling, just as Jin-Woo had suspected. If the boss didn't fall asleep, they would abandon the mana stones and instead take Jin-Ho's gear worth hundreds of millions, which would still bring in a substantial profit. The leader even checked online to find out which family Jin-Ho belonged to, planning to attend the funeral. Jin-Ho thought Jin-Woo had no chance of defeating a C-rank boss alone, as one would need to be at least a B rank or a top-tier C rank to manage that. Indeed, even though Jin-Woo had reawakened and leveled up, he was still considered weak. The Kasaka's Venom Fong from the system's dungeon and the Golem boss from the dungeon outbreak was only D rank, whereas the spider was much stronger. Yet, Jin-Woo didn't feel any pressure. He had become so powerful that he no longer feared his opponents. Jin-Woo then dashed forward, delivering a slash at the spider that left Jin-Ho in shock. He dodged the attacks from the spider's legs. He tried to slash its legs, but its shell was too tough to inflict any damage. On the contrary, its kicks were so powerful they could punch through rock, so taking just one hit would be fatal. Jin-Woo continued to charge forward, attacking and dodging with movements so agile that it was clear he couldn't possibly be an E-rank hunter. Jin-Ho even suspected him of cheating during registration. Although rare, some hunters could manipulate magic to register at lower ranks. Most of them were psychopaths with a penchant for killing, and the mere thought made Jin-Ho turn pale with fear. No matter how much he fought, the boss's defense remained unbroken, and Jin-Woo's fatigue was mounting, which meant his speed was decreasing. The special abilities of the short sword, which caused paralysis and bleeding, were the key to defeating the boss. Jin-Woo was about to thrust the sword into the spider's eye when it suddenly spat out a stream of acid that corroded the ground. Fortunately, Jin-Woo was alert enough to dodge it. Despite the risk, he decided to use the skill that boosted his speed, swiftly moving under the spider's belly and launching himself from behind it. He gained momentum from the cave walls to dive down, but unfortunately, his sword struck the hard part of the spider's face. Jin-Woo had to quickly jump away from it. He kept utilizing his enhanced speed, dashing forward to deliver numerous slashes. He knew that if he didn't hurry, he would soon run out of strength. Just a little more, and suddenly his fatigue level spiked to 70, causing him to be thrown off the spider. The spider raised its leg for a finishing blow, but in that moment of life and death, a system notification appeared, announcing a complete recovery, allowing him to dodge the attack. Jin-Woo continued to leap into the air, putting all his strength into a thrust that pierced the spider's eye. The spider was now afflicted with paralysis and bleeding effects. Seizing the opportunity, he delivered dozens of consecutive stabs, finally succeeding in defeating the dungeon boss. Luckily, he had saved the daily mission reward of complete recovery for later, or else he would have been doomed in that last move. Jin-Ho was overwhelmed by the scene and became even more convinced that Jin-Woo had cheated during registration. For him, money was no longer important, survival was all that mattered. Jin-Ho obediently suggested that Jin-Woo keep all the boss's magic stones and offered to carry his luggage. He even offered Jin-Woo water and mana ores to ensure his safety. At that moment, the traitorous group returned from the small tunnel above. They had assumed the spider was just a large creature that would be easily taken down by Jin-Ho's equipment. The leader had found information online, revealing that Jin-Ho was the son of a construction company president. Thus, he gave Jin-Ho an opportunity. If he killed Jin-Woo, he would be spared and allowed to join their nefarious group. They thought Jin-Ho would betray them due to their excessive threats, but instead, he chose to side with Jin-Woo and face off against them. Seeing this, the traitors were filled with murderous intent and approached to eliminate both of them. Suddenly, an emergency quest appeared before Jin-Woo: kill the 6 people in front of you or face the penalty of obliteration. The mage attacked first, firing a fire spell straight at Jin-Woo, slamming him into the wall. Meanwhile, 3 female hunters, friends, were chatting. One was from the White Tiger Guild and the other 2 were members of the Hunter Guild. The 2 from the Hunter Guild had recently participated in a training session at an A-rank dungeon with Cha Hae-in. They couldn't stop praising her immense strength, mentioning how she made the super-strong A-rank monsters disappear in an instant. All 3 felt lucky to be in such prestigious guilds, especially since there were rumors of guilds with abnormally high death rates, where every raid resulted in casualties. This was the guild of the traitors Jin-Woo was currently facing. With just one strike from the C-rank mage, Jin-Woo was pinned to the wall. At that moment, the protagonist realizes that this is a world of deception and lies, and he has neglected the quest's instructions. His body was gradually becoming paralyzed, and his heart was about to stop, while the system kept urging him to complete the task of eliminating all the enemies in front of him or die. It was as if his death would impact the system somehow. Jin-Woo was extremely conflicted about the order to kill people, but saw no other choice. If he wanted to grow stronger, he had to follow the system's commands. He realized the system was using him, and he had to use it in return. With this in mind, he approached the traitors, dark shadows slowly spreading around him. "If you were ready to hunt, then you should also be ready to be hunted," he said. One of them came close, tauntingly slinging an arm around his shoulders, only to have Jin-Woo decapitate him, causing the others to panic. Just a moment ago, Jin-Woo had nothing in his hands, yet now a sword had appeared out of nowhere. The protagonist's mind was racing with the thought that his hands were now stained with human blood. But if he didn't kill, he would die, so there was no turning back. Two more rushed at him simultaneously, but Jin-Woo deftly dodged and swiftly stabbed each one, so cleanly that they didn't even feel the pain before succumbing to paralysis and continuous bleeding. The crossbowman and the mage couldn't do anything to Jin-Woo. He easily evaded their attacks and eliminated them as well. At that point, the leader finally understood that it was Jin-Woo who had killed the dungeon boss. However, this guy was also a C-rank hunter and not weak at all. He analyzed that Jin-Woo must be exhausted after fighting both the spider and his teammates. Moreover, with Jin-Woo's specialty being speed and the special effects of his sword, he believed his body, enhanced to be as hard as steel, would surely defeat Jin-Woo. He flexed his muscles and charged with tremendous power. Perhaps before entering this dungeon, Jin-Woo wouldn't have been able to take on the entire team. But since he had been leveling up continuously, defeating this leader was now extremely easy for him. The leader begged Jin-Woo for mercy, promising to keep everything that happened in the dungeon a secret and offering all the money. Jin-Woo replied that the leader had tried to kill him 3 times and had stated that what happens in the dungeon stays in the dungeon. Seeing that begging didn't work, the leader changed tactics, threatening Jin-Woo with his powerful younger brother. However, before he could reveal who his brother was, Jin-Woo decapitated him. Thus, the emergency quest was completed, and the gruesome scene of human blood made Jin-Ho vomit uncontrollably. Afterward, the dungeon supervisor was highly suspicious of the results of this raid. All the C-rank hunters were dead, and only a D-rank and an E-rank hunter had survived. However, she quickly noticed that the equipment Jin-Ho was wearing was all expensive, newly released items, and concluded that he was the one who defeated the boss. The reward for the recent kill quest was the skill Killing Intent, which allowed Jin-Woo to emit a powerful aura that could drive enemies into a state of panic. At the end of